What's your assessment of the camp you're having?
I think just trying to improve every day. I think the thing we've talked about a lot in our room is just keeping the focus small, day by day. Training camps, obviously, it goes quick, but day to day it seems long. So just keeping your head down and one day at a time and trying to improve. Just worry about the next script for practice, the next, drills we're doing, whatever it is, and just keep getting better each and every day, and then look up at the end and see where you're at.
Your pass catching ability is pretty evident to us out there. What do you think you need to work on most to prove they can put you on the field, I guess, in the other areas?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most transferable skills from coming from basketball background is the pass catching and route running. But I want to get better at everything. I know that probably sounds cliche. Still want to improve in that area, and then I think the main thing is just in the run game. Blocking, and there's not a lot of that in basketball, so trying to kind of figure out that technique and also just with the pass protection stuff would probably be the two biggest areas for me.
And how's it going? Have you made a big leap from May till now?
Yeah, I feel like from when we kind of started this journey, I've made a good number of improvements, but still a long ways to go, and I'm not naive to that. So just focus on the little things, take Coach Barone's pointers when I get them, and just try to absorb as much information as I can.
Mike, what was that transition like when you first? Because you had gone 6, 7 years without playing. How long was it?
Yeah, it was 6 years. Yeah.
What was that transition like going from basketball to football once you started?
Yeah, I remember my first training camp in Seattle, and just remember how fast everything was moving to now, and being here and being able to make some plays and actually be a part of the rotation and getting reps and during call periods and 2 minute and big situations in the game. I'm proud of how far I've come, but this isn't like the end goal. I have had high expectations for myself throughout this process, and even when I started, I thought I could potentially be a special player, and I'm still working to do that and trying to make strides. And yeah, like I said, I'm not naive to how much I still need to improve, how much I still want to improve, and just trying to keep that my focus.
What did you play in high school? Did you play tight end?
I played tight end. Yeah, I played a little bit of defensive end my senior year. We actually Anthony Nelson, who plays for the Bucks, he's a defensive end for them. We were high school teammates, so he was on one side and I was on the other my senior year. So played some defense too, but I was mostly just run, jump up, swat the ball. Yeah.
What was it like just sort of playing, being teammates with Tyrese in college?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Tyrese and I were actually roommates for a year. So yeah, pretty special to see what he's doing and out there, playing in the Olympics, and that's a pretty stacked team they have. So for him to make that roster is quite the honor, and it's cool to watch just all the success that he's had, kind of coming from 3-star recruit in high school, kind of a no-name, to I remember him at that first practice, everyone kind of being impressed with what he could do, and now 4 years later, 5 years later, whatever, he's NBA All-Star and playing for Team USA. So
who's his roommate now?
It's a good question. Somebody who, better player than me.
Y'all still keep in touch?
Every so often, not a ton, yeah.
How does your basketball background help football? Is it like body control, like positioning, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think those would be definitely two things that helped. I think just kind of multi-planar movements, I guess, not to get too scientific, but just you change directions a lot in basketball. You got to play both ends of the court. Running in transition, just kind of being able to adjust to the ball, being able to track it, soft hands, those type of things, I think have helped.
When you're first going about that switch.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just going to say being 6'7" probably doesn't hurt you.
It doesn't hurt, no, definitely not. It doesn't hurt. Sometimes I get told to identify like a 6'2" person just to get my pads down, but it's one of those things I'm still working on, so yeah. But,
you played overseas 1 year?
Yeah, for 1 year, yeah.
Where'd you play?
I played in Ukraine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you make that switch, like, do you still kind of think of yourself as a basketball player who's playing football, and like now, years later, like, do you identify as a football player at this moment?
Yeah, definitely identify as a football player now. I think I'm far enough removed from the basketball thing that this is what I do now. This is pretty much all I train. In the summers, I try to play as much pickup as I can. But yeah, this is obviously my primary sport now. And I think at first I was definitely like a little bit overwhelmed, and like I said, everything was moving very fast. But now I definitely feel more comfortable.
What
What are your
stands out to
comments?
you about Spencer Rattler?
Sticks out about Spencer.
Yeah.
I think just his poise. I think he's got a lot of arm talent. He can throw the rock for sure. So I think he's done a good job coming in and I think learning from Derek and Jake and just absorbing as much information as he can and learning the offense. And I think he has good command of the huddle and gets people in the right spots. And obviously I think there's no doubt about his God-given talent. I think that's been seen for a long time. So.
What do your college teammates think about you being in the NFL? I mean, what are they kind of say to you?
I think it's a surprise for some people. I had a little bit of, I would say, like a football mentality when I played basketball. I was just, tried to play hard, tried to rebound, tried to be physical. So I think it's maybe not a huge surprise to some, but yeah, I think it's a cool journey. And I actually saw Mike Rose, the linebacker, that they worked out some linebackers this morning. So former Iowa State guy, saw him in the locker room, and yeah, it's crazy. I actually, we were in school at the same time, but that was the first time I spoke to him, was in the locker room this morning.
I'm sure this story's been told, so I apologize. But what was the genesis of you trying football out?
So I played a year in Ukraine. Was still working out for basketball and had 3 or 4 offers to go back over and play in Europe. And I remember sitting in my apartment in Ukraine and like staying up till like 4 a.m. and watching playoff football games and seeing guys that I played against in high school or teammates of mine, whatever, playing specifically the tight end position. And I was like, I felt like, okay, I could be out there doing that as well and not living in Ukraine. So when I came back, I was, like I said, I was still working out basketball, had some offers, and then kind of started to, I was like, let me just run a 40-yard dash and see what the time is. And the time was pretty good. And I was like, okay, I think this is real. So like I said, I have that friend who plays for the Bucks, and I got in contact with his agent, and he sent me to Nashville to kind of work out with some of those guys, Kittle and Hawkinson and those guys down there, and get evaluated. And they thought I had a chance at playing, so he signed me. And then that's when the Seattle thing happened. And, yeah, the agent signed me, and then I worked out for Seattle, and they signed me to the training camp, and then that's kind of where it all began. So.
Did you see the commotion that Austin Rivers caused over the spring with
Yeah,
NBA versus
yeah,
NFL?
yeah.
I just kind of being on both.
One of those like boring summer no sports talking points, arguments. I think if I had to take a side, I think it's easier for a basketball player to try to make an NFL. Like if you had to do it next week, like I think a basketball guy would have a better chance of making the NFL roster. Those guys are so skilled, and the size is. That was one of the reasons I came to football, was I was undersized on the basketball floor as a 4 or 5 man. So, those guys are 6'11", 7 feet. They can run, jump, shoot threes. Like, it's just the skill level is such a niche thing. I think it would be harder for a football player to try to come play in the NBA level.
Your experience with Jimmy Graham last year, obviously he's somebody with a basketball background who ended up being very successful in the NFL. What was that like for you, just kind of getting to be around him?
It was so cool. Jimmy's a great guy. We still talk every so often, and I tried last year just to take as many pointers as I could and pick his brain and just watch the way he practices and kind of how he handles himself and carries himself as a professional. And I still try to pick his brain about stuff even this off season. And there was part of me that was hoping Jimmy would be potentially back for another one, because I think he had 7 catches last year for 4 touchdowns or something like that. A pretty crazy percentage. So no, that's a guy who's obviously done it at an extremely high level and had a ton of success, and you would be stupid not to try to learn from him. So.
Are you the best basketball player on the team? On the Saints team?
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of guys that think they can play, but I like my chances.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.